Hello, good afternoon. How is everybody? I just want to say, to start with, thanks for all the lovely comments and likes and hearts and personal messages, etc. to do with the video I did last night about Emmy, what's it all about. That was my interpretation of what Emmy is about. So, because of all the comments and positivity I got from that, I thought today I would do something even more personal. Hi Charles, of Emmy and what it's like to live with it day to day for me. So I thought I'd go through a typical day for me. Not that there is really such a thing as a typical day. Hiya Gina, hiya Rosie. So an average type of day starts about 7:30, getting up with the dogs, letting them out in the back garden. And I find for that brief quarter of an hour, half an hour, first thing in the morning, I have a little bit of energy. So I tend to load the dishwasher or load the washing machine, or generally just those two, to be honest. One of those two, just to sort of, so that I've got something done for the day. That's, I've achieved something. Hi, Val. And then I make myself a cup of tea. And I pour myself a juice and I have all my tablets and I get myself a bowl of cereal. At that point, generally, that's it for the energy for that part of the day. So I tend to then shuffle into the lounge and sit on the sofa with my cup of tea, or vat of tea, depending on what day it is, and my breakfast cereal, and make sure that the kids are up and that they get their own breakfast now. They're at that age where they like to get their own breakfast, so I don't have to do too much, which is good. Sam, bless him now, even makes his own packed lunch. If I'm not feeling too bad, I will go and help and get things organised, or if he's running late, because he's 10 and has no concept of time management, so if he's running late, I'll go and help him. But essentially, they take care of themselves. So they tootle off to school. Bye, Mum, love you, have a nice day, all that kind of stuff. And I then sit on the sofa for another hour at least, kind of recovering from that. Hey, Maria. From that expenditure of energy. So I've kind of been up for 2 hours, and I've managed to either load the washing machine or the dishwasher, fed myself. Hey, Rita. Fed. Made sure the children have been fed, and got them off to school. And made sure that the dogs have been out and done their stuff in the garden. So that's pretty much it. 9:30, I tend to try and go upstairs. Not least because I take water tablets when I take my tablets, so I have to go upstairs, if you get my drift. And I try at that point to have a wash and get dressed and make myself look like I'm ready for the day. If I'm honest, smeggy as this may sound, and quite repulsive it is, to be fair, the wash doesn't always happen. And the brushing the teeth doesn't happen every day either. The brushing the hair tends to happen every day, mainly because I've got long hair, but a lot of the time I will wear it up to go to bed the night before, so I don't have to do that much with it. And sometimes, to be fair, I have to get somebody else to brush it. And the getting dressed sometimes doesn't really consist of very much. The other day I got dressed and I literally took my nightie off and replaced it with a dress. That was... I've got dressed, and really I hadn't done very much in the direction of getting dressed. So then I'll come back down and possibly have another cup of tea, but possibly not. Possibly that will just be a return to the sofa to recover from the energy expenditure of going upstairs and getting washed or not and dressed. So then about 11, hopefully about 11, I will go in the kitchen and make another cup of tea or get a drink of some kind and deal with whatever it was that I dealt with in the morning. So if it was the washing machine, I'll get the washing out. If I'm feeling well enough and have enough energy, I may even try and hang the washing out, but that doesn't always happen. Or I might try and empty the dishwasher, but again, that tends to happen just one drawer at a time, because I can't actually do all of it, because there's a lot more bending and stretching involved with the dishwasher than there is with the washing machine. You just kind of get it all out in one go from the washing machine, don't you? And then days when I'm not dealing with anything houseworky, I like to sit and put my makeup on. Really, because it does make me feel better. So just this, what I'm doing now, gentle massaging of my face as I'm putting a primer on, makes me feel better. And I know it's doing my skin some good, which, given how horrendous my skin can be from time to time, is a bonus. So like today, you can see this is not my usual happy, glowy, smiley self, because I am still, as I knew I would be, I am suffering today. So today is definitely not a typical day, being as it's 2 o'clock and I've only just got dressed. It's not quite as bad as yesterday, only 1 quilt, not 2, but still, the fleece. So yeah, 11 o'clock I'll do something, but then I'll need to rest again. About 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock, I'll make lunch, if I'm up to it. And again, sit and eat that. If I'm in desperate need of going out to the shops or to the post office or to whatever, I will try and do that about 1:30. Kind of midpoint of the day. It's not too bad, and I've got kind of a 2-hour window before the kids are due home from school. So I will try and go out. If I'm going out, I will try and go out in that time slot. Again, that doesn't always happen. And if it doesn't happen, it tends to be that I don't do anything else either in that time slot. That's one of those, definitely one of those, if I'm fit I'll go out, and if I'm not, then I'm not fit to do anything. If that makes sense. It's a bit of a strange one, is that. If I'm going to have energy, that's when I'll have it, and if I'm not going to have energy, then I won't have it any other point of the day either. So if I've managed to go out, then I'll go, and then I'll get a taxi back. And then I'll sit and wait for the kids to come home, really. If I've done some shopping, a lot of the time it gets left in the kitchen when the kids come home and they get to put it away for me, which is great because it means they get to go through all the stuff that I didn't want them to find. So if I've bought stuff that I don't want them to find, I do tend to put that away when I get home. My little treat box that's just for me, not for them. I love them dearly, but they're not having my toffee crisps. Although I'm trying not to buy treats now. Mainly because if I have them in the house, I will just eat them, and on days when I can't face making a proper lunch, I will just sit and eat all the snacks. Like, all the snacks. All in one go. Which is bad. Bad, on very, very many levels. So then I'll wait for the children to come home, and we will sit and chat about what they've done at school that day, and potentially be asked to help with homework. I'm doing French tonight. Oh, lovely. I've got to remember my French from like 30 odd years ago when I was at school. Yeah, no, that's really not helpful, not when I can generally not remember what I did that morning. But, we try, because, that's what mums do. You sit there and you try and help your child to do the homework. And then we'll sit and watch normally some TV that makes your brain drool out your ears before long. And then around 5:30 I will try and make tea for us all. Sometimes that doesn't work very well. I am trying to be better in having things in the house that don't take a lot of doing. But that tends to be not particularly junk food, but not particularly great stuff either. I mean, some of it is definitely junk food and some of it is utter garbage that you put in front of them, but they like it. So you sit there and go, well, it's better than nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's food. Nutrition might be stretching it, but it is actually food. So they like hot dogs and beans. They like meatballs and beans. And that kind of thing is, on my less than good days, is easy enough for me to do. Last night I couldn't even face that. Last night was definitely a ring up and get a takeaway, and which is bad on many, many levels. Nutritionally, health-wise, financially, but necessity. Because there was no way I could go in the kitchen and cook. Or even assemble. Literally shuffling in the kitchen, opening 2 cans and putting them in a pan was beyond me yesterday. Most days I can manage that much. The rest of the time it's things like sausages that you do through the oven with baked potatoes. Beans that you put in the microwave. Sometimes I do stuff from scratch, and I will, make pasta or chilli or stews and things. Tend to find myself using a food processor for doing a lot of the chopping, because I can't actually stand and do chopping anymore. Things like carrots tend to put in with their skins on, because I can't actually stand and peel things for very long. So yeah, thank heavens for the food processor that chops and dices and stuff. Hi Tina. So that's tea, really, taken care of. And then the rest of the evening is pretty much spent just vegging on the sofa. I don't really do much else then for the rest of the day. I try not to go up and downstairs too often. I now say goodnight to the kids down here instead of going up and tucking them in, but they're 12 and 10, so maybe that would have happened naturally anyway. Hi Tina. So I don't know whether that's a natural evolution, if you like, or whether it's something that I've just gone into because of the ME this time. And then it's really just Paul normally comes home then about 9:30, so we have another little flurry of activity where sometimes I will go in the kitchen and be able to cook him something for tea, or I'll at least be able to direct him as to what we've got for tea and he can go and make it himself. And we'll sit and chat about his day at work, and then again it's just kind of vegging. So I do spend a lot of time sat on my sofa. There is a huge amount of inertia because I lack the impetus, if you like, to get up and go and do anything. And it's because of the lack of energy a lot of the time. So I will sometimes, hey Nicola, sit there and think, oh, I could really do with another cup of tea. I could really do with another cup of tea. I could really do with another cup of tea. And then 3 hours later, I'm still sat here and I haven't had another cup of tea. Or I'll go in the kitchen and I'll put the kettle on for another cup of tea, because I do live off tea, essentially. I would think now, 90% tea. So I'll go in the kitchen, put the kettle on, and I find if I don't stay in the kitchen until it's boiled, I will come away and not go back and finish making the cup of tea. So I kind of have to stay in there until it's boiled and I've brewed the tea, because otherwise I don't get my cup of tea. Sam in particular is pretty good. The younger son, he will come home and he will, if I'm sat here with a quilt on, he'll look at me and go, do you need a cup of tea? When did you last have a cup of tea? Have you had enough to drink today? Because he's just super special. Other days, like today is not a normal day. Not by any stretch of the imagination, which, given what happened yesterday, I knew wasn't going to be. So this morning I got up. It was a little bit earlier, actually, because the darling dogs have no concept of whether you're feeling good, bad or indifferent, have they, bless them. So they got me up a little bit early, so I got up and let them out, and then I did my dying swan on the sofa routine, which I'm getting very good at, it has to be said. I'm well practised at the dying swan now. So I did my dying swan routine on the sofa. My alarm went off at 7:25, and I rang William, because William takes his phone to bed with him. It's one of those, you've got to laugh, really, or you'd cry. So I rang him and said it was time to get up, and could he go and wake Sam up as well. So sometimes mobile phones and teenagers, or nearly teenagers, are a really good combination. And I'm really quite glad that I've said he can take his phone to bed with him. So I rang him and told him it was time to get up. So he got up and he went and got Sam up, and they came downstairs and they sorted themselves out. And I was lying on the sofa underneath the 2 quilts, so they obviously knew that today is not going to be a good day, because they're quite perceptive children, really. And they've lived with me, with Emmy, for, well, all of their life, really. They've seen me at incredibly good bits, and they've seen me at incredibly bad bits, and pretty much everything in between, it has to be said. And in some ways, although they don't say it in so many terms, they actually prefer me now. If that makes sense. Because I'm at home. So I'm here when they go to school, and I'm here when they get back from school. So whilst they don't actually like me being ill, and they do sit there when I'm having a bad day, and they come and cuddle me and go, "Oh, do I like it when Mummy's poorly?" No, Mummy doesn't like it when Mummy's poorly either. But they do say, "But at least you're at home when we get home from school." So, silver lining. All about the silver lining. Find the silver linings. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Nicola, even. Sorry. No. Had I not had a crash, I would still be working stupid amounts of hours, missing out on them and what they do. So yeah, having rung them still sounds really, really bad. How did you get your son up this morning? I rang him. Yeah, that's not good. So then I went back to sleep, and then I woke up with a start because one of the dogs had to go to the vets this morning for her injections. So fortunately Paul's at home, which is why I booked these things for Friday, so that Paul can take, normally, me and the dog. However, this morning, just the dog. So that was 9:15 and the appointment was 9:30, so back on the phone, rang him, but fortunately he was already up and around. And came downstairs and went, "Oh, I'll be going on my own then." "Oh, yeah, perceptive, well done." Yeah, pretty much. And again, pretty much just ligged on the sofa this morning, underneath my 2 quilts, because I wasn't dressed at that stage. He made me a cup of tea. I ate, almost ashamed to admit, last night's leftover pizza at about 11 o'clock for breakfast, because I hadn't had chance. Use the intercom. Oh, good plan. Yeah, they haven't got a phone in their bedroom though. Oh, for Paul I could do. Oh, good plan. Might think about that for the future. So yeah, I had last night's leftover pizza because I ordered pizza from my takeout last night, but because I was shivering so much, because I was so cold last night, I couldn't physically eat the pizza, because I kept nearly dropping it. And then my teeth were chattering, so I couldn't really chew, because when your teeth chatter, they don't actually open wide enough for food to fit between them. If I could have got them chattering when I'd got the pizza in between them, that would have been great. It would have looked like something out of a cartoon, you know, straight across it. That would have been fantastic, but I couldn't actually open them wide enough to get the food in. So I didn't actually finish my pizza last night. So, in a very, yet another joyous bit of smegginess, I had cold pizza for breakfast, but it was about 11 o'clock when I managed to convince myself that I could eat breakfast. So again, as you can imagine, that's not particularly brilliant for me and my physique, is leftover pizza for breakfast. But hey ho, such is life. So that was... Hi Claire! So it's about 11. So then I went upstairs about 11:30, 12 to try and get dressed. And by the time I'd got upstairs, my temperature had plummeted again. So I went back to bed for an hour. Maybe even longer, to be honest. Because I just couldn't get warm. And then I just thought, I need to get up. I need to do something. So I forced myself to get dressed really quite rapidly. Almost like, when you see these survival people and they're getting dressed inside the sleeping bag. Well, it kind of felt like that, only I'm not on the north face of the Eiger. I'm in my bedroom in a house in Elland, However, that's what it felt like I was doing. So, yeah, got myself dressed, came downstairs and thought, you know what, I am going to do a live. I'm not looking brilliant. I'm not feeling brilliant, but that's the whole point of ME, is that you don't feel brilliant a lot of the time, and you certainly don't look brilliant a lot of the time. But life has to go on. And if the world only sees me when I'm having exceptionally good days, then the worst bits of ME are never going to get known. And it's ME Awareness Week. It's not the good days of ME Awareness Week. It's ME Awareness Week. So I'm trying to make people aware of all the bits of ME. And all of the bits of ME are really quite dire sometimes. So that's kind of my mission today, really. So I just thought an insight into what goes on in the life of an ME sufferer. I'm not claiming to be an average sufferer, or I would class myself as moderate to severe on the scale. So on good days, or the better days, I'm moderate-ish, and then on other days I'm quite severe. So today I would class as definitely heading towards the severe. I'm not very severe in that I'm not ever, or I haven't been, totally dependent on other people for everything. I've been able to feed myself for the most part, and bathe myself for the most part, and get up on my own for the most part now. I'm not reliant on other people to literally spoon feed me. That could happen in the future, nobody knows. I'm hoping, obviously, not. I'm hoping that I don't progress to the very severe of being restricted to my bed the entire time and having to live in a darkened room, not being able to talk to my children, which is what one of the sufferers does at the moment, because she can't actually cope with the noise that her children make, which is heartbreaking for her. So we hope and pray that I'm not going to descend to that. And we're just, we're living day to day, and some days are better than others, and some days aren't quite so good. But as long as I can still talk to my kids, talk to my husband, function on some level, then I'm pretty happy, really. Yes, life could be better, but I don't think there's a person alive that doesn't think life could be better. I don't think that's anything to do with ME. Hi, Dolly. In any way, shape or form. I think that's just to do with... It's proper scary, Nicola, you're right. That you just... There's this alien entity almost in your body that could completely, and does completely, take over your life with no warning. And there's no rhyme or reason to what it does, when it does it, or how it does it. And it is really quite frightening. You're right, it is quite frightening that you've got no control over it whatsoever. And that you can't really describe it to people. I am trying really hard to describe it to people because I don't think people quite get what's going on. And that's what ME Awareness Week is all about, really. Is just letting people know what it is, what it can be, what it isn't. One of the comments on yesterday's post that I read that I absolutely love, because I said yesterday, calling ME chronic fatigue syndrome is like calling Alzheimer's chronic forgetfulness syndrome. She put, calling it CFS is like calling diabetes sugar problems. Well, so, and in amongst all of this, there is a lot of humour. Because there has to be, really, because if you didn't laugh, etc., you would just cry, and I've done enough of that. So we just crack on with what we've got. And I am a firm believer in being grateful for what you have got and appreciating what you have got instead of mourning what you haven't got. Because sitting in a corner, whinging and moaning and complaining about what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, really ain't going to do anybody any favours. I don't have that much energy to waste on non-productive activities, if you see what I mean, and whinging that life isn't fair and that, you know, why me and all that kind of stuff is just too energy sapping and time consuming. So whilst I do have days of frustration where I just want to scream and shout and kick cushions and all that kind of stuff, I try not to do that, or try not to let those feelings hang around, because they are just completely counterproductive. So I instead count my blessings and appreciate what I have got, which is that I have got a husband who loves me, 2 kids who adore me, 3 pugs who like to jump on me, and a cat who enjoys being fed by me. Oh, thank you, Nicola. I find putting the makeup on really relaxing and quite therapeutic, it has to be said. I never used to be a makeup person at all. Well, I was, for nights out and stuff. I was a makeup person. But I was a lot of makeup person, It was like nothing or the galaxy of makeup was on my face. There was, I didn't do subtle. If I was putting makeup on, I wanted it to be visible from the moon. That time, so it was all over, everywhere. Which is great for a night out, but for the middle of the day, not so much. And also for just wanting to make yourself look a bit more human and a bit less like Death Warmed Up. You don't need huggins of the stuff. You just need a little bit of something. So I am properly enjoying doing it. And I find it easier to talk to people while I'm doing something. So last night I didn't, because I was trying to, I needed to concentrate on what I was saying last night, because the brain fog was highly evident last night, which is why I had everything written down. I had made notes today, but thankfully I haven't had to refer to them. But I do find it easier to talk to people if I'm doing something, because it feels like I'm just having a chat with somebody then, as opposed to preaching. Because I don't want to come across as preachy, because I'm not trying to preach it to anybody. I am just trying to share my life. So this is one of my blessings. Yeah, this would be Lois the parrot. Yes, no, you're not actually. This is where she likes to sit. This was my own fault, because as a puppy I let her do this. And now that she's 9 months old, she just thinks she can still do this. And she can't really do this, because she's a little bit heavy, and then end up with a broken shoulder. However, off you go. Are you going to go? You're going to go? Yeah, you're going to go. Off you go. There you go. But if I was still working full time, wouldn't be able to have the dogs. Yeah, I know. She's gorge. So that's one of my blessings, and one of the silver linings is being able to have dogs. So even if she's now trying to sneak around the back of me to get to where all my brushes are stored so she can run off and chew one of my brushes. Know what you're up to, darling. I do. I'm not as green as I'm cabbage looking. So, I'm just going to have a little tidy up so that she can't run off with everything. And in honour of my friend Sue, she's found a tissue. She's obsessed with tissues. I don't know what it is with this dog, but she is obsessed with tissues. I've never known anything like it. So in honour of my friend Sue, I'm putting our favourite lipstick on. She loves this lipstick, and so do I. It's called Swagger. Not sure I've got the energy to swagger today, but mentally, I'm having a swagger. How's that? It's a pretty spectacular colour. So I did start off subtle, ended up not so much. Hi ho. That's me all over. A bit of a dichotomy and a bit of a quandary and a bit of a... yeah, all of that. So there you go. So that was my little bit for today for ME Awareness. Again, if you want to share this, please feel free to share it. I really appreciated the shares yesterday. They've gone all over the place, and I am highly appreciative because I am desperately trying to raise awareness for the horrendously, cripplingly, horrible, very vampy, just horrible illness that is ME. So please share away, spread the word, spread the information, and hopefully we'll get a bit more compassion for the illness that nobody understands. Okay, thanks my darlings for watching. See you all later. Bye.